You're listening to the Esoterix Podcast, hosted by Joe Figueres and Fiorelise Franco. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi.
So today we are bringing you a special bonus episode. This is in the spirit of Scorpio season, a time to dive deep into yourself. What are we talking about today, Joe?
Today I want to share my 7 favorite books on personal development.
Awesome.
And I know it's not a super sexy topic, but with the episode that we just released on October and November's astro numerology and the astrology update with Peggy, and the fact that we're entering Scorpio season, which is going to support the deeper work, I thought that this was a really good time to give people some resources.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. So it was going to be top 5 books, right? But apparently I can't count because there's 7. So I had to change it. But what this is these are 7 books that will help you with spiritual deepening, personal development. 2024 for me has been a 7 personal year, which is a year of seeking the deeper meaning in things.
Okay.
So it's been very solitary, very inward. I bet you I've read 25 to 30 books this year. I have never read that many books.
Wow.
And also it's about going inward like never before. So these are the books that I read this year that are my top 5 or top 7, and I'm going to tell you why.
So your list has 6.
The list actually has 6, but then number 3, there's 2 books.
Oh, I see. Okay,
yes.
Got it. Okay.
So, all right. So the first book that I want to talk about is called Becoming the One by Shalana Ayana, who is the founder of Rising Woman. So if you follow Rising Woman on Instagram, she shares a lot of really cool, quotes and slides and stuff.
Yeah.
This is one of those books that just found me at a time in my life when I was ready to do the deeper work, but I had no idea how aligned that I would feel with the words between these pages. For me, this book opened me up to the beauty of vulnerable communication. And, I'm not good at that. I was never raised or taught how to communicate vulnerably. And while I'm not partnered at the moment, I do feel that when the time comes, I'll have this really beautiful sort of resource to help me feel safe, sharing my emotions in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I have found it helpful with other relationships, business relationships and partnerships and friendships and stuff. But again, I don't have a lot of relationships in my life that require, things like speaking my truth and standing my ground. They're very lovely and easygoing. And, I've just surrounded myself with some really beautiful people. So anyway, based on my astrology, my deepest work is going to be in partnership. So I'm glad I have this book.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is share some quotes so that people get a preview of what type of energy. So the author says, to be our most empowered selves, we need to learn to trust ourselves and develop a spiritual foundation that guides us towards people and environments that are right for us. Many of the obstacles we find ourselves facing are due to holding back some part of ourselves. Building that relationship is the slow and gradual process of learning to witness our thoughts and reconnecting to our body and our emotions so that we can shift our energy from self-suppression to self-acceptance.
Yeah.
In the chapter called Coming Home to the Body's Wisdom, she writes about the importance of embracing your relationship to anger. And what I particularly love is that she gives you some questions to ask yourself when you're angry. She doesn't just tell you, she says, all right, this is what you do. So some of the questions are, in the moment, you say to yourself, well, what do I need to feel safe, respected, and important right now? Is there another feeling beside anger that I'm afraid to show? Does this conflict or situation bring something up from the past?
Mm.
And she does the same when she talks about embracing sadness, which kind of goes hand in hand sometimes with anger. How can I be tender toward myself right now?
Mm-hmm.
What am I in the process of clearing? That's a good one, because it's like we think we're upset, we're crying because we're mad or upset, but it's like we're actually clearing something out.
You're right.
And then if we think we might be unreasonable, that's never me. You can ask yourself if I'm grasping, what is the deeper need that I'm looking to get met? Because our needs, we get upset and angry and sad when our needs are not being met.
Right.
So one of the sections of this book that I really love was the chapter called Red Flags, Green Flags, right? And we hear a lot about that. And why I love it so much is because she gives us great examples of communicating with others. The most helpful to me was the process to follow to share our feelings when a fear comes up. Like, who can do that? Unless you have somebody that you feel really safe with, it's hard to say, okay, I'm going to share my feelings because I'm afraid. It's just really hard to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And she also talks about yellow flags that are warning signs that invite you to proceed with caution, pay attention, ask questions, that sort of thing. And then give suggestions. This is my favorite part. I love any book that says, okay, when this comes up, do or say this.
Yeah.
So she gives suggestions on how to communicate and what to say to start a healthy conversation. I have this page bookmarked. I have all. So basically, you can say, I'm processing something heavy right now, and I wonder if you have the capacity to hold space for me. I use that one with my friend Laura, and I love it. Of course, Laura's always like, yes. But sometimes she might be like, I don't have the capacity right now. Can we check back?
Right. Yeah. I try to do something similar as well. And I learned that from you. I learned this one from you. So I've tried to do the same when
It's helpful. It really is.
It
And
is.
then also, if you love the person, right, and they say, no, I don't right now, then you're like, it's not like, I need you right now. It's like they don't have they don't have the capacity. And honestly, I don't want to overburden them with more.
Right. And it's also, though, I think the important thing, I know for me, when you ask me, then it gives me a moment to ask myself, like, can
Yeah.
I right now, versus you just dumping it on me without me
Dude.
expecting it. And then
Yes.
that's different, because generally, for the most part, if you ask me, I will say yes, unless I'm like literally in the middle of something, right? Like, I'm in the
Right.
middle of work, or I'm taking care of something, which I think that's happened to us before, where you've asked me
Yeah.
and I'm like, give me like a couple
You do.
hours, like give me some time. But yes, like I just give me some time in the middle of something. But anyway, the knowing to expect it helps so much,
Yes.
rather than just bringing it on a person or getting that phone call from a person that's crying, they're sobbing, and which, you can't always help it sometimes. Like, I'm glad, a part of me is honored that I am that person that gets the phone call, but at the same time, like, you can't keep doing that. So
No, because you only have so much space. And if you're not doing the things where, if you're not emptying your cup, you don't have the space for it, and I find that I have to empty my cup a lot, simply because a lot of times with my clients, it's an open space, right?
Yeah.
And I tell them, tell me what's going on in your life. And then sometimes it's like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
So, being asked is lovely. And
Yeah.
it allows you to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other ones she says that are really helpful is You might say to someone, the other day when you said blank, it brought up blank for me because in my history, I experienced blank.
Mhm.
It gives you sort of a perspective about
Yes.
why this person is experiencing that.
Yes.
Another one, something you said brought up an emotion for me, and I'm wondering if you'd be open to discussing it. That one's a little scary, right? Because you're saying, you know,
Mm.
um, you just pissed me off. No, of course
Yeah.
you could say it that way, but
Sure.
and then this one is a good one for people that are in burgeoning relationships or just getting to know each other. You say,
Yeah.
something that is important to me in a relationship is blank, and I want to know whether that's something you're open to as well.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, she
Yeah.
just gives such amazing. So another beautiful thought in this book that struck me as a very Pluto and Aquarius ideology
Mhm.
that will jive with anybody, but definitely the younger generations, is she says, as levels of consciousness rise, values such as self preservation, obedience, control, toughness, and status that have been the priority of generations before us are coming out of the shadows and they're coming up for review.
Mhm.
Many of our ancestors inherited the values of colonialism, which prioritizes individualism, hierarchy, and capitalism rather than community, transparency, and equality.
Yeah.
So, doing the work to reclaim our core values is also a reclamation of our humanity. It's knowing
Mm.
that each of us is a valuable human being, not because of what we do, but because of who we are. That's
Yeah.
such a huge ideology that we're trying to get people to see right now. And I think
Yeah.
over the next 20 years, it's going to become the norm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the last piece I want to share with you is the chapter called Your Path to Authentic Love. And she says, coming into powerful relationship with ourselves invites others to do the same. As we no longer live and breathe by the judgments and expectations of others, we are clearing the path in our daily lives and relationships to become a reflection of our authentic selves rather than our wounds. Our lives become a reflection of our own inner work.
Hmm.
So honestly, I have to tell our listeners that this is the single most helpful book I have ever read in my life, and it's a trusted handbook for maneuvering all types of relationships. There's nothing in here that you can't go to and find something helpful. She also gives us some things to keep in mind when processing these flags. So again, incredibly helpful. And let me give you a little bit of a backstory. So, I recommended this book to one of my workshop participants, and she reported back that she asked her husband to read it with her. So, they were
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
it at the same time. And
Yeah.
she said that he opened up about something really profound to her in a way that he's never done before. And it was beautiful and deeply connective, within their relationship. And she said it just changed everything. And I
Yeah.
was like, men are just not given the space to process like women are. They're just
Right.
not.
Right. Yeah. And even sometimes women aren't even, because we've lost community
Yeah.
in a lot of places. So yeah, no, it's that reminds me of that episode of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy that you and I were watching with the
Yes.
boys in the frat house and how
Yes.
they end up in that
Yes.
circle and they gives them a safe place to start sharing and they start crying like a lot of
Yes.
them became sharing some really deep stuff that's been bothering them, that's been on their heart, that they didn't have a safe place to share, even though they live in a house with, you say it's a house full of friends basically, but they didn't take the time to create the container for them to have a place to share. And yeah, it's so important. So that's beautiful though, that one, that she shared it with him, and two, that he actually did it,
That
because
he
a lot
did
of people,
it.
yeah, because a lot of people you can share all day long but they won't, it's in out, in one ear out the other.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Well, and they both read the book together. Like
Yeah.
they didn't do it together. They each had a copy of the book, and then they
Hmm.
they would read at their own pace, and then they would come
Yeah.
together. So he's absorbing it on his own.
Yeah.
The tearing down of toxic masculinity because of the offering a space for men to share their vulnerabilities
Mm,
is literally one of the most beautiful things. There is a commercial on TV right now, and it's for Shriners Hospital for Children, right? And
yeah.
they don't charge anything or whatever. And
Hmm.
right now they're featuring the fathers of these children with cancer.
Yeah.
And to see grown men cry
Yeah.
about how powerless they feel
Yeah.
that this child has this terminal illness is literally, I'm like, take my money, take my money. And listen, when it comes to the fact that men are not given the space to process, that's not excusing any toxic patriarchal bullshit. It's simply an indication that it needs to change in order for the patriarchy to heal.
It's a prime example of how the patriarchy also harms men. Like
Yes, yes.
it's not excusing it or anything. It's an example of how it's not
No.
beneficial for anyone, including men.
Including men, and that's not often considered, right?
Yeah.
Men are just
Mhm.
grouped into this. You suck, you're the patriarchy. Okay, but
Yeah.
the patriarchy doesn't help you either.
No.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna send this book to every damn man on the planet and send the bill to fucking Zeus, because it started someplace and he has been highly problematic from the beginning, so I blame Zeus. Okay. The next book is Astrology for the Soul, or Of the Soul, by Jan Spiller.
I love Jan Spiller. So I have this one.
That's it. That's spiritual astrology. Yes, that's her other one.
Yeah, spiritual astrology is the one I have. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Are you sure you don't have this one? The
I
Astrology for the
probably
Soul?
do.
Okay.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
pretty
no,
sure I
I'm
saw
pretty
that.
sure I have both. I love Jan Spiller books. Yeah.
So what I love about this book is that each chapter contains an overview, personality, needs, relationship goals, and healing section for each north node of the zodiac. And some of the topics that she covers are really, really helpful in your day-to-day, such as things like what harmony versus self-sacrifice looks like in your life as a blank, node. I'm an Aries North Node. What's your North Node?
I'm an Aries and Libra. Yeah, so I think
Oh,
I'm Aries.
do we have your Aries North Node too? We have the same nodes.
I'm pretty sure.
That's
I'll
cool.
double check right now.
I did not know that. So what harmony versus sacrifice looks like, what participating with life versus hiding from life looks like, how to develop self-awareness, how to develop relationships, dependence, independence, boundaries, choosing a partner, avoiding conflicts. So you see all this super helpful life information that she covers in there that is specific to your North Node, because everybody's different. So she writes, Aries North Node people have had many past lives supporting others, and they have a natural talent for it. In past incarnations, they were housewives, secretaries, counselors, and assistants. They were the people behind the scenes who gave others energy and support. This made others bigger and stronger because they infused all with their own identity, power, and positive energy. They put everything into supporting them. Aries North Node people have had a lot of household lifetimes. And that's true. A lot of my past lives have been as some member of a household, a cook, housekeeper, teacher, that sort of thing. And therefore, Aries North Node people are accustomed to merging their energy with those in their immediate environment. In the process of supporting others, these folks extinguish their own identity. In this incarnation, are you Aries North Node? Did you check?
I am. Yep.
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
I am.
So I am too. And so we are also, that means our Libra South Node, right? And then, of course, what I'm doing right now is explaining all the Libra qualities of balancing, supporting, that sort of thing. I'm a Libra rising. You're a double Libra. So in the process of supporting others, these folks extinguished their own identity. In this incarnation, their destiny is to get in touch with the strength and the power of their own vibration, because depending on another prevents them from experiencing their ability to survive under their own power. This is a lifetime where it's time to rediscover themselves. Aries North Node people have spent many incarnations supporting the identity of others on an energetic level, and they are missing the insulation of a sense of identity. And when I read that, I was like, shut the hell up. Because I've always complained, why do I have to do everything on my own? Why is it just me? Why do I have to always be so independent? And this book explained everything to me.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about this book is that you don't need to know astrology to love this book for the info that she provides. She gives us excellent insight into the soul work each North Node has in this lifetime, and then how we show up and what we need to do to bring balance to that. So it's like, this is what you need to do in order to be your best version. Again, this is literally one of the most helpful personal development books that I've ever read. So it's not your typical astrology book. She also gets a little woo-woo in there. She talks about karma and spirit guides and stuff like that. So it's a fun read. It's a good read.
Yep.
Okay, so the next book I want to talk about, I want to start out by talking about the author, because I'm going to cover 2 books that she wrote. So her name is Brianna Wiest. I'm not sure about how you pronounce it, but she's an American writer and a poet who writes about mindfulness, spirituality, and emotional intelligence. She shares really powerful insights on personal growth, and that's why I was drawn to this. I love her words. Her words speak to me at deep, deep levels. She just really beautifully articulates the power of like self-awareness, acceptance, perseverance, that helps us determine how we sort of navigate the obstacles in our life to create the life that we want for ourselves. She just has a way of saying, if you want this, this is what you need to understand. And so she's the author of several best-selling books. She's the one that is probably her most popular book is called 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. I don't have that one.
Okay.
The one that we see a lot, I see a lot on the socials, is The Mountain Is You. And it's like this book where there's this mountain.
Yeah, I've heard of that book. Yeah.
But the books that I have of hers are Ceremony and When You're Ready, This Is How You Heal. So Ceremony is a collection of short essays and poems that dive all the way into like who we are meant to be. And I'm not that person who reads poetry. I'm like, that's not for me.
It's
so
Capricorn.
I was a little bit hesitant. What'd you say?
It's that Capricorn.
It really is. I'm like, this isn't logical. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't rhyme. So I'm not doing it. But this is Ceremony is a reminder that we first have to release what isn't ours or meant for us in order to receive what is. And there is a huge theme in my life where that plays, which I know you're familiar with.
Yeah.
This isn't meant for you, so you got to let that go in order to open up to what is. And I love this book, and I often use it as an oracle. And I'll just, open up a page and be like, what do I need to know? And boom, there it is. It's really awesome. So here's an excerpt from it. She writes, "You are not what you became when you were most afraid. You are what flows through you when you are most joyful and most inspired. You are what you feel when everything feels at ease. You are what you know when that quiet little voice inside tells you it's going to be okay. You are not the person you became to cope with the life you didn't ask for. You were the person you choose to become and the life you build despite it. And just because you can feel every burden does not mean that they are all yours to carry." Right? That's what I say after him. I'm like,
wow.
Just like a Black woman, like, Another book of hers I love is called When You're Ready, This Is How You Heal. So it's another collection of essays, and each of them are just a few pages long. So, very short. But they're all like these deeply and profoundly inspiring blog posts, basically. Now, this book is based on the belief that healing is not just a one-time event. It happens slowly over time, and sometimes it's really hard to get started. So she shares how to get to know our healed self, because just we're on the path to healing, our healed selves are not our most flawless self. That's what I love. She's like, look, you're healing. And just because you've healed this, it doesn't mean that you're ever going to reach flawlessness, because you never will.
No. Yeah. No.
And while we are never immune to challenges or struggles, when we are able to validate, accept, and process our own human experiences independent of other people's, that's when the magic happens, and that's when the healing starts. And that's why social media sucks, because we're looking at our experiences compared to somebody else, and we're saying,
right,
I'm not good enough.
The
I'm
comparison
not doing it right.
thing, and it's
Yep. So she writes, letting go is as effortless as an exhale. You do it all the time. There are
Mm.
so many thousands of things you have released and only a few that you're still clinging to. Sometimes letting go is an action. Sometimes it is a decision. And very often it is a matter of distraction. We let go not when we think we're supposed to, but when our minds move on to a different story, building a new reality. We move on not when we have adequately picked apart the pieces of what used to be, but when we begin to think more about what we'd like to build in its place.
No.
We aren't really letting go, we are just accepting what's already gone.
Hmm.
What we are actually releasing is just an idea we had about who we were or who someone else could be, an idea we had about the future, how the future would unfold, and how we would arrive into it,
Yeah.
an idea we had about the world and how it works and whether or not we are safe. You see, letting go is not a process of simply releasing into nothingness. It is a process of profound growth. In place of what no longer serves, we are forced to reach for what will finally heal.
Hmm.
See, she just, it's like, what? That was
Yeah.
some good words.
It is. Yeah. Seriously.
All right. So again, Ceremony and When You're Ready, This Is How You Heal by Brianna Weist. And I'm going to, of course, I'll link all these in the show notes.
Yeah.
The next book is one that I recommend at least twice a week to a client. It's called It's Not Your Money.
Mm.
How to Live Fully from Divine Abundance by Tasha Silver.
Oh, yeah.
So Tasha Silver is a Buddhist, and the higher power that she believes in is God, goddess. She
Yeah.
refers
I
to
have
both
some of
those.
her oracle decks. Yeah.
Right? She's
Yeah.
got a lot of really cool things out there.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of this episode, I'm replacing her references to God with the universe. Just it's that's what I believe in. Like, I
Yeah,
do believe in God, but
It's more universal.
it's more universal, right? So this book shows us that instead of chasing abundance, we first become it. Instead of striving and struggling, we surrender those needs to a higher power. In her words in the book, assure us that we are loved, and the key to let go of control is simple surrender. And then when we surrender, the universe, we give the universe, we allow it to guide and provide for us.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, in theory, but that shit's fucking hard. That is hard
Yeah.
to embrace.
Yeah.
And what I found, especially for people that have a heavy 8 influence in their numerology, 8 is the number of empowerment, disempowerment, and material wealth and success. And so you have heavy 8 energies in your charts, because this is a lifetime where you are meant to bring balance to your relationship with money.
Mm.
And that relationship is always tied to self-worth, fear, all that shit. So that's why it's really hard. And that's why I recommend this book all the time. So at the core, the concept is that money is not ours. It simply flows through us and accumulates in our bank accounts so that we may do the work that we are here to do on earth. But in order for it to accumulate, we have to be open to it. We have to be receptive to it. We have to embrace that whole divine femininity of allowance, which is hard because culturally we're not taught that. We're taught to hustle, push, make shit happen, right?
Right.
That
Right.
masculine, divine masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So opening to it, in my opinion, that's the actual fucking work. That's the work. How do I open to receptive or divine feminine?
And that's part of what I have in the my money and prosperity, the shadow work class, is to how to release the things that are basically holding you back from that abundance. Because it's easy to say like, oh, okay, yeah, all you have to do is like get into flow and
right,
get in the energy and da 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 da, which is like, yeah, it's true, like absolutely yes. But the thing that holds people back is their programming, their traumas, their experiences, how they grew up. So that's what the shadow work class is really just unpacking all of that so that you can move beyond it. Because like once you shine a light on it, now you can clean up the room. right?
Right,
Once you
right. Right, back to that room
yeah,
analogy,
yeah, you can
cleaning the room analogy.
yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, also is how? Because that's the first question as a Capricorn I ask. Well,
Yeah.
how do I do this? What are the steps? Give me the
Yes.
steps. And not
Yes.
everybody, not every author will give you the steps. Some are more
Yeah.
cerebral, right? They're more of a
Yes.
conceptual communicator.
Yeah.
I want the fucking steps. Tell
Mhm.
me first things first. What do I do?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this is where I'm struggling right now because I'm trying to do this huge project.
Mhm.
And right now, money is bottlenecked. And I had in this awful energy, I had a bit of a, shaking my fist at the universe moment yesterday. And I said, show me where. Show me in what area of my life that I need to move forward out of this.
Right.
And it took a minute. I had to go down. I had to regulate, my freaking nervous
Mhm.
system and do some deep breathing, do some meditation, open up my record. But within, I would say, like maybe 10 minutes of being in a meditative state, all of a sudden, just out of the blue, I heard embody receptive feminine energy.
Mm.
And I was like, oh. And then, of course, that opened me up. And then I pulled some cards. And it's like, yeah, you have to, first things first. This is not go out and find the thing, go out and do the thing, go do this. First things
Mm.
first, your very first step is to embody divine or feminine receptive energy.
Mhm.
And I was like, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. What do
Correct.
I need to do? And that's where
Right.
I'm going to put my energy. So
Right.
that's what this book gives you, is a way to do that. So
Okay.
there's a prayer for transforming money that she shares. And this is it. And again, I will put this prayer in the show notes.
Mhm.
She says, okay, universe. And her prayers aren't like flowery. They're like
Sure.
literal, like conversational prayers.
Yeah.
Okay, universe, open me. I'm ready. I don't want the exhausting burden of this topic anymore. I am done. Open me to whatever I am meant to receive from this sacred process. Help me let go of old beliefs and feelings that get in the way of your plan for my life. May I know the good I can do as an embodiment of divine abundance.
Mm.
I know that one got me too. I actually cried when I read it for the first
Ooh.
time. May I know the good that I can do as the embodiment of divine abundance. That hits us right in the soul,
Oh
right
yeah.
in the what am I here to do?
Yeah.
May I please know the
Mhm.
good that I can do.
Yeah.
She then goes on to say that many of the money focused books that are out there, books and courses, they're based on this idea of how can I get more? I want it all and I deserve it. And
Right.
we do.
Right.
We
Yeah.
do. We want it all. We deserve it. And we do deserve it.
Mhm.
But she says you can bless the entire process of opening to abundance with a simple, direct prayer.
Mhm.
And that prayer is, it's called the Change Me prayer. And one of the elements of it is change me, open me, make me receptive to the unexpected. May I receive all that is meant for me over these next weeks and beyond. Let me know my own worthiness to receive. Let me play with these new ideas as an adventure. And then let me embrace what happens according to your will. I am yours, you are mine, we are one, all is well. And honestly, I say that one all the time. It always soothes my soul. But I change some of the words in it, right? Like,
Right. You got to make it your own.
yeah, tweak it
Yeah.
so that it feels good.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's got a lot of books. Another one that she has is Outrageous Openness. I really, really like that one. And
Yeah.
it's about opening. I'm going to reread it. So it's a good stuff. She's great. Good. Tasha Silver. Okay. Just a couple more. So actually two more.
Yeah.
All right. So the next book is When You Think You're Not Enough by Daphne Rose Kingma. This one caught me by surprise because I was just looking for a book to help my quantum healing clients with reprogramming, right? And I thought, well, why do people want to know when they're not good enough, right? I need to know what that is. Like, what are some of the things that people believe when they say I'm not good enough?
Oh.
But honestly, it's been one of my personal go-to books. I resonated with this book like nothing, like nobody's business. So the book is broken down into two parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the first part, she tells you why we need and deserve our own love and how we developed the inability to love ourselves.
Right.
Very helpful. And then she breaks all that down into 4 actions: speak out, act out, clear out, and set out. And then she explains each one.
Mm.
And they might seem self-explanatory, but her, um, um, let me see, the act out, I believe, is the one that kind of surprised me. You'll have to read the book if you really want to, because I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah.
But what I am going to go into is some of the cool things that she covers in here and why I love this book so much. So my biggest thing is her perspective on healthy anger, right?
Mhm.
Because as women, we are taught, as humans, actually, we're taught that anger is bad, and that when we're angry, we're not in control of our emotions.
Yeah.
And there's this huge negative connotation around an angry woman, especially Black and brown women, right? The hot Latina, the angry Black woman,
Yeah, the spicy Latina.
the spicy Latina.
Mhm.
The ability to express anger in healthy ways has not a fucking thing to do with the amount of melanin in our skin or our cultural
Mhm.
beginnings. It has everything to do with having learned the skills to express our emotions in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So being told that we express wrongly is patriarchal bullshit. It's colonial bullshit. It's colonized bullshit. I can go on. But I think it's one of the reasons that this hit me so deeply, that my whole entire life I've been told that my anger is wrong.
Mm.
I lost a friendship over it, and she specifically said, "You have anger issues." Well, you just threw me under the bus, and so
And what do you
there's
want me to
that.
just take it and smile? Fuck
Right,
off.
right. So to have been made to feel ashamed of it, while also never being taught how to express my anger in a healthy way as a child, was a big turning point for me. That was one of those soul contract relationships where I said, well, okay, so I lost this relationship, but it also showed me something that I need to heal. So I am grateful for that, but
Yeah.
also that doesn't take away the bullshit of the person that caused the whatever. We're not going to get into
Mhm.
that. So when this author talks about healthy anger, she describes it as a way to deepen a connection, which I've never been taught that, right? We always taught that anger is going to, is going to ruin a relationship.
Yeah.
So this is what she says. She says, by speaking out, we move from the pit of not loving ourselves to affirming our own value. Anger is a complicated emotion. However, anger is also a beautiful emotion. It's the emotion of self-care and self-protection. It is the emotion by which we make ourselves known to others as worthy, valuable human beings.
Mhm.
And she goes on to say, anger is the way we tell other people that they've gone too far, that they've crossed the invisible boundary they shouldn't have if they want to remain in our good graces.
Mm.
It's the sword by which we cut away behaviors that dishonor us, and the emotion through which we teach others how to treat us as well. Speaking your anger doesn't mean becoming a raving hysterical maniac. It means determining exactly what you're angry about and expressing it strongly and clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, for those moments when we become a raving hysterical maniac and we lose friendships, we immediately regret it. But if we can say, okay, well,
Mhm.
that showed me what I need to work on, it's also a really beautiful
Yeah.
outcome, too.
Yeah.
And then she gives an example how to express your anger in a way that builds rather than tears down. And of course, this was really helpful for me.
Okay.
When you say something to somebody, like, I'm angry that for the third time this week you did blank blank. It makes me feel as if you don't care about me. It reminds me of how I used to, experience this, with like my parents or a
Mhm.
caregiver or whatever.
Right.
So elaborating gives the other person an opportunity to see and know you in the context of your entire life experience and not
Yes.
just in the moment of your irritation with them.
Yes. Yeah. I've had that before. I can't remember exactly what the conflict was, what the issue was, but it was something where my husband was like, why do you get like that, or why do you act like that, whatever. And it took me a few minutes to really like think about it and understand. And then I remembered, it's like, well, because it triggers something from my childhood. And then I explained it to him, like, this is where it comes from. So when when you do XYZ, this is what it triggers in me.
Yeah.
And just that understanding. And then so then he obviously became more like conscious of like, well, if she's mad or if that irritates her, it's not about me, it's about what that's triggering. And so it create. And then the thing is too is that not only does it create that space for you to share that and that person to understand you, for some reason it once I brings light to it for me, it also allows me to like not engage in the trigger as much anymore too. So
Yes.
yeah.
And it also brings a deeper connection to your relationship, right?
Hmm.
It's just one more, sort of, I don't
Fact that
know.
you know about that person. Hmm.
Yes. And you have empathy and compassion and
Yes.
love and understanding and all of
Yep.
those things. It just builds it up. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, like I said, this book was a surprise. I didn't think, because it was just a flimsy Amazon book. I didn't think that it would be as important as it is. And I'm like, well, this book is not going anywhere. It's really good. It helps you. All right. So the last book that I want to talk about for deepening your spiritual and personal development is one that is definitely well known. And it's on the New York Times bestseller list. It is The Body is Not an Apology: The Power
Okay.
of Radical Self-Love by Sonia Renee Taylor. And in your mind's eye, you might see this book. She is a luscious, voluptuous Black woman lying naked, as if you're looking down at her from the ceiling. And she's got flowers over her nipples and her woo-woo parts. And she's just this very goddess-looking title. And like I said, this book is on the New York Times bestseller list, and it's obvious why once you read it. The author talks about radical self-love and healing the wounds inflicted upon us by the systems that are around us. Similar to, the patriarchy has not been supportive to men, the patriarchy and the matriarchy is not supportive to women's bodies. Sonia Renee Taylor is an activist and a poet who has traveled around the world combating body terrorism, she calls it. I love that. I'm like, yeah. Her book helps you free yourself from the habits of your own judgments and shame and your own internalized thought processes around your body, but also other people's body. She gives you a tool for self-revolution, she calls it. And as one person on the back wrote, the body is not an apology, is a gift, a blessing, a prayer, a reminder, and a sacred text. This book cracked me open in ways that I am so grateful for, and I know it will do the same for you. That was a quote by Alicia Garza. She's the co-creator of the Black Lives Matter Global Network.
Oh, okay.
But on the cover of this book, she has a quote from the lovely Brene Brown. And she says, "This book took my breath away. It's an unexpected and urgent embrace of truth."
Oh.
So in it, Sonia writes, "Those of us who believe we do not have the right body spend decades of our life and dollars trying to shrink, tuck, and tame ourselves, all the while forfeiting precious space on the planet because we don't feel entitled to it. We are too out of balance. Why are we constantly apologizing for the space we inhabit? What if we all became committed to the idea that no one should have to apologize for being a human in a body? What if we made room for everybody so that no one ever had to stand on someone else's foot? How might we change our lives? How might we change the world? Freedom from body shame demands that we look at how we have perpetuated shame in others."
Oof.
So this was surprising because it made me go, well, how do I feel? Right? Because, I am a chubby woman, and there's a lot of body conscious, body acceptance accounts out there in the socials. And I'm just like, no, girl, no, I don't care. I don't care. You shouldn't be wearing that. And I do that a lot. So, and I get to the point of where I like just unsubscribe because I'm like, if all I'm going to do is feel mad at this person for wearing a crop top when I think they look bad and I would never wear it, why am I even allowing this into my life? So I don't go there, but it helped me look at why I go there and that there's actually a root to it, right? Because when I look in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, no, I want to be I want to feel differently about my body. So when I
Yeah.
see somebody else's body, I'm like, So
Right.
I've
Right.
got work to do. I've got a lot of work to do.
internalized. Yeah. It's internalized things. Yeah.
Internalizing and then projecting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I can always tell what parts of a book really resonate with me because that's where I have the most highlighting and notes in the margins.
Mm-hmm.
I write in my books. I don't loan my books. These
Yeah.
books are my Bibles or my reference books.
Yeah.
I also stick those tiny little post-it flags on pages and paragraphs of profound importance to me. So, I go back to them anytime I need a little reminder, a little encouragement. So she also writes, kicking body shame in the butt means that we must be willing to do the following. 1, make peace with not understanding.
Mm-hmm.
2, make peace with difference. 3, make peace with our own bodies. Radical self-love is not an impossibility. It is your inherent sense of self. Making peace with your body is not about finding some obscure pathway to liking your thighs. Making peace with your body is about awakening to who you have always been. The physical, spiritual, and energetic manifestation of radical self-love. It's a map back to ourselves, and I totally believe that.
Mm-hmm.
She says, when our personal value is dependent on the lesser value of other bodies, radical self-love is unachievable. When we have been manipulated into a system of body shame, this disaster is destructible. So it is now up to us to do the very scary work of tearing down those pillars of hierarchy inside ourselves and trust that what will be left standing is our own divine enoughness. I love that.
Wow.
So, to close this episode out, I just want to say that 2024 has been my personal 7-year of seeking the deeper meaning. I talked about it a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's been intense and challenging, and anybody that's gone through a 7-year like this understands that it's also been deeply healing. And so, I've spent the last 10 months immersed in personal development. And honestly, I'm fucking exhausted and I'm ready just to take everything I've learned out into the world and rejoin society because it's a very solo internal year. So it's 7-year preps us to do the 8-year of empowerment. So now we have the tools and now it's time to go put them to use.
Yeah.
And so I know it's going to be a tough year, a challenging year, but I also feel like it's going to be a year that's going to show me that I do have the tools and I have the resources. And just because I was never taught these things as a child or a young adult, I have spent the last 16 years since 2008 learning these tools for myself. I've taught myself. I've healed myself. I'm currently seeing a therapist. I've enlisted the help of a therapist because sometimes there's just shit where I'm like, man, I can't figure this out on my own. I need somebody.
You need a professional to help you unpack sometimes.
Yes. And she's teaching me things like internal family systems. We're doing EDMR. It's just it's fun. It's fun. It's not, crying and stuff. So my point is that personal development can feel exhausting, so exhausting. But there are some really cool resources out there for you if you have to undertake it. And the reason that I'm doing this episode now is because as we move closer to Scorpio season on October 22nd, and if you listen to Peggy's Astro update before this episode, you will feel the pull to dive deeper into yourself. You may. When she did a monthly what's going on at the beginning of the month and in the middle of the month, all of them were all centered around shadow work, inner work, deeper work. And that's when we connect the dots and put Scorpio's potent energy to work for us. And just to recap real quick, how this all came together is that the eclipses, they shook things up and they realigned us with our true north. The super full moon in Aries reminds us it's time to take action in a whole new way. That's the one that's coming up on the 17th. There's a cardinal grand cross that's tied to those full moons, to that full moon. And it's basically, it's an amplified energy of initiation. The cardinal grand cross is Capricorn, Libra, or Capricorn, Aries, Libra, or Cancer, and Libra.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. And then that Grand Cross amplifies the energy of initiation. So that's why it's like they say that the Grand Cross, the reason that it's so challenging, it's one of the most challenging sort of aspects in a chart because it's like 4 generals all trying to take action. And so
Oh,
yes,
that makes
that's
sense.
why. So it's a great time to, you know,
Start something new.
to be triggered
Yeah. Okay.
and to be like, I need to get to the core of this. And then
Yeah.
finally, Scorpio energy is all about transformation and, those rebirth challenging or the need for rebirth challenging us. So it urges us to go inward.
Yeah.
All of that. So the next phase, if you are up for it, is about a soul deep sort of excavation as we prepare for a personal evolution and then moving into 2025. So hopefully these resources will be helpful to you if you
Yeah.
choose to pick any of them up.
Yeah. I have not read as many books as you have read this year, but I've been listening to Drew Afalo. She's a TikToker that blew up the last few years for basically clapping back at men in the
Oh,
most hilarious and just destroyful ways. It's just she's the best. Anyway, so she wrote this book. It's called Loud, and I think she said she's like 6'2" Samoan woman, and it's about uh deprogramming yourself from the patriarchy. It's about her personal journey in finding or working towards body neutrality.
yeah,
Um, it's a lot about her not settling and being her authentic self and
yeah.
still achieving things, like not having to, fit herself into somebody else's box in order to get where she wants to be. And it's a great book. So far I haven't finished it yet, but it's great, and I actually really want to share it with my daughters because I think that if I had had something like that with that kind of voice early on as a teenager, I think I would just be a really different person.
An entirely different experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, my millennial TikToker, please. What other resources are out there for people other than books? Again, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm like going to the books, but I'm sure that there are some amazing podcasts and, influencers out there that can help with personal development.
So I'll tell you what I have as far as podcast goes. I have this one. My husband doesn't like it because of the voice, because it's kind of monotone,
Yeah,
but they're like 5-minute episodes, and it's all about self help. And so there's different ones. They have money ones. They have like lifestyle ones around like minimalism, optimal living daily. It's personal development and self improvement
nice.
is the whole theme of it. But they're just like really short episodes. So if you
Hmm.
can't get like a whole book in or whatever, or you just want a way to start your day, and they have different ones like personal development, money, and there's another one too. I think they have like a meditation one as well. Um,
Nice.
Now if you have a Spotify premium subscription, there's a lot
Mhm.
of audiobooks that are available on
So
there
many.
for free. Yes. Those are my favorite resources.
I recently discovered Spotify that you could get audiobooks on there. And I was like, I mean,
Hmm.
I've had Spotify premium for a while because I couldn't stand those damn commercials. I'm like, no, it's the best $10 I'll ever spend in my life. But recently I was on there. And well, actually, when I was looking I read, the first audiobook that I've completed from beginning to end was Britney Spears' book, and I
Hmm.
realized, oh, it's on Spotify, and now I go on there all the time because,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. So
Did she
there's
read it herself, or is
no
it
Michelle
somebody? Oh, okay.
Williams narrated it.
Oh, cool.
Yes, it was
Hmm.
it was so good. It was such a good book. Um, the issue with audiobooks is finding the time because I'm typically
Yeah.
creating content and
Right.
I can't create content and listen at the
No,
same time.
no, and I
Uh,
drive a lot, which is why I do the audio stuff, is
yes.
because I'm just in the car and it's either that or music. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, like I listen to like our podcast, and if we'll record it, and I'm like, I haven't listened to the finished version. I'll listen to it when I'm cooking because
Yeah.
I don't need anything but my ears for that. So
Well, friends, that means it's time to say goodbye. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share on your story. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and leave us a review. This helps our podcast grow. And if we grow, that means the ability to do this work grows with it.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Stay mystical, magical, and don't let anyone tell you what to do except a really good, juicy, soul shifting book or
Yeah.
podcast.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.